The number of Americans applying for British citizenship hit an all-time high in January to March 2025, coinciding with the start of President Donald Trump's second term. Recently released official data from the UK Home Office showed that 1,931 Americans applied for British citizenship, the highest number since records began in 2004. The number was up 12% from the previous quarter, which also saw a sharp spike just after Trump's re-election in the November 2024 presidential election. The surge in applications is seen as reflecting the discomfort of some Americans with the political and social conditions in their homeland. Not only citizenship applications, but applications for Americans to settle permanently in the UK, which gives the right to live, work and study indefinitely, also hit a new record. In 2024, more than 5,500 Americans were granted settled status, an increase of around 20% compared to 2023. This settled status is often a gateway to citizenship applications after several years of living in the UK. The trend reflects a significant increase in Americans wanting to legally leave their home country to build a new life in Europe, according to Home Office officials. This is not the first time this has happened. A surge in citizenship applications by Americans was also recorded in 2020, when Donald Trump took office for the first time and the world was in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, many Americans expressed disappointment with the handling of the pandemic and the domestic political climate. In the first half of 2020 alone, more than 5,800 Americans were recorded as renouncing their citizenship, almost triple the total for all of 2019. The data was compiled by Bambridge Accountants, a cross-border tax firm based in New York and London. The majority of them were already living outside the US and had decided that they had had enough, Alistair Bambridge, a partner at Bambridge Accountants, told CNN. He added that in addition to political discontent and the pandemic, another frequently cited reason is the burden of US taxes, which continue to apply even after one has been living abroad. On the other hand, Americans seeking to move to Europe are now facing increasingly stringent regulations. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said last week that his government would tighten requirements for legal migrants, including extending the waiting period before someone can apply for citizenship. Italy took a similar step earlier this week, officially eliminating the path to citizenship based on great-grandparents, a path that had previously been widely used by Americans of Italian descent. Rome has also tightened its visa policy for non-EU citizens. Reuters also reported earlier this week that the number of Americans considering moving to Europe has increased since Trump's election. Irish passport applications in the US reached their highest level in a decade in the first 2 months of this year. The monthly average of nearly 4,300 applications in January and February was up about 60% from a year ago, according to data from the Irish Department of Foreign Affairs. In France, government data showed that requests for long-term visas from Americans reached 2,383 in the first 3 months of 2025, compared with a total of 1,980 in the same period last year. From January to March, French authorities granted 2,178 long-term visas compared with 1,787 the previous year.